I put on social media the other day, and I'll go into this a little bit deeper, that hospitality should be selfless, right? We should do it selflessly. We should do it, without expecting anything in return. By nature, hospitality is selfless. We're not looking for money. We're not looking for recognition. We're not looking for people to act a certain way. We're just being hospitable because we genuinely want them to have the best experience possible. We just care about how they feel and giving them a certain feeling. That's why we do it. Someone messaged me or they DM'd me or they commented and they said, I'm not doing anything extra unless I get paid more. And that's just a terrible mindset to have. I want everybody in this room to be as successful as humanly possible. But if you're, say, for example, if she was getting paid $20 an hour and she's going to sit there and say, well, I'm only doing the work worth $20 an hour until you pay me more. Then I'll start doing extra work. You're always going to be worth $20. So I really want you to take this quote serious. The man who does more than he's paid for will soon be paid for more than what he does. That's how you get to the next level. That's how you make yourself more valuable in the workplace, is by doing more than what you're paid for. And that's my philosophy that's gotten me to where I'm at today. Has anybody ever heard of the Lobster Effect? Raise your hands. Anybody ever heard of the Lobster Effect? The Lobster Effect, so when the lobster needs to grow, it'll start growing out of its shell. So it'll get really, really, really full in the shell. And it'll get super uncomfortable. It'll get very, very uncomfortable. And that signals to the lobster that it needs to shed its shell. So it goes underwater, under a little cave, where it's safe, and then it'll shed its shell. Right? And the lesson in that story is, in order to truly grow, you have to get uncomfortable. So I want you guys, does anybody here raise a hand into personal development? Growing as a person? Raise your hand above your head like you mean it. Anybody interested in growing as a person, or are you guys good where you're at and you want to stay there for the rest of your life? Good. Everybody in this room is interested in personal development, which is awesome. You should be. You should want to grow and learn and do more, be more. But the Lobster Effect teaches you that you have to get uncomfortable. If you haven't gotten uncomfortable in the last month, that's a problem. You have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. And a lot of that is talking to the guests, connecting with the members, connecting with them, having conversations with them. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. Sometimes they don't give you an energy that opens that door up where you can go talk to them right away. But you have to get uncomfortable and step in and say, how are you today? What's new? Anything exciting? Talk to them, even when they don't seem like they want to be talked to. They don't. They'll be short, but for the most part, they'll open up. And they might be in a bad mood, like Matt said, or in a grumpy mood. But that conversation that you have with them, that 2-minute conversation, might turn their mood around. That's why we're here. Experience, right? Transactional versus experience. So that's the next step, is service versus hospitality, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So what got you here won't get you there. Has anybody ever heard this quote before? So we're growing, or you guys are growing, right? We want to take things to the next level. We want to make sure that we're always hitting those marks. We want to go from 90% to 95%, right? That's what we want to do. We don't want to settle where we're at, and we definitely don't want to go down. So how do we get to 95%? Well, what got us here won't get us there. How do we take it to the next level? How do we make sure that we're giving ultimate experience, ultimate hospitality to every member? And it involves everybody in this room, because everybody in this room does not have the same position. We all have to work together to make sure we're giving the members that experience to get to that 95%, for all of us to grow, both individually and as a group, which is really important. I talk about this all the time. What's a successful business model? Let's say you want to start a business, right? But I don't know what to do. Well, here's a really simple way to find out what you could do to be successful in business. You look at a huge demand that's in the market. What's a huge demand that no one's meeting? You create a product that meets that demand, and then you sell that product to the masses. Make sense? Pretty simple, right? There's a demand in the market, you create a product to meet that demand, and then you sell it to the market. Pretty simple. What's missing in the market right now, and you guys could probably be case studies for this, what's missing in the market now is hospitality. That's what's missing in the market. When you go out to eat, to dinner, do you get true hospitality consistently? Are you like, oh man, I know when I walk in this restaurant, they're gonna treat me so well, make me feel like I'm the only person in the room. Or they gonna treat you like a number. And that's not just with restaurants. When you get your nails done, when you get your oil changed, when you call your bank, right? When I call my bank because they made a mistake and I need them to fix the mistake they made, I don't get on the phone going, oh man, this is gonna be fast, it's gonna be easy, and they're probably gonna do something really nice to make me feel valued. I get on the phone going, just please don't piss me off. And I'm gonna put my money on the fact that you're going to piss me off. Right? Hospitality is so rare now, it becomes a luxury, and that's what we want to offer, is luxury through hospitality. Has anybody ever heard of Chick-fil-A? So Chick-fil-A in 2001 was worth $1 billion. It's pretty good, right? Yeah, if you had a company that was doing $1 billion a year, would you be happy? In 2001, Chick-fil-A was worth $1 billion, and they were doing well. They were growing fast, but they really wanted to separate themselves. They wanted to continue the growth, but they wanted to do it the right way. So they said, how can we separate ourselves? We don't want to be the cheapest. We don't want to be known for being the best, because that's almost impossible to be unanimously the best of something. But they knew what it was going to be, and that was going to be the guest experience. We want to have the best guest experience. We want to have hospitality. We want to be known for hospitality. And everyone laughed. They said, you're crazy. You're a QSR, fast food. Look at your number one competitor, the number one restaurant in the world, McDonald's. They don't give you an experience. They give you your food fast, and they give you your food cheap. Used to be cheap. So they knew it was going to be the experience. So they hired the Ritz-Carlton to come up with their training systems, leadership development, all that good stuff to create their experience. They dedicated a lot of money and a lot of time, and that was in 2001. We're going to fast forward to 2025. They're now worth $25 billion a year. They added $1 billion in revenue, over $1 billion in revenue every single year since then. Why? Is Chick-fil-A the cheapest? Is it the best? No. That's an opinion, right? Popeyes, KFC, pick your poison. So why are they worth $25 billion? Customer service, guest experience. I'll give you a little bit more perspective. Chick-fil-A does $25 billion, KFC does $34 billion. KFC's a winner, right? Yeah, you guys aren't going to fall for that one, because they do that with 1/3 of the locations, which means per unit, they're absolutely crushing any of their competition. It's not even close. There's not a close second. Again, why? Customer service, hospitality, guest experience. They focus on that. When you go into a Chick-fil-A, they're going to be nice. They're smiling. I walked into a Chick-fil-A the other day, and there was this kid sweeping in the front, and he could have been sitting there going, oh, man, my life just sucks. Blah, blah, blah. But when I walked in, he looks up. Right this way, opens the door for me. How are you today? I was sitting down and eating when we were done. I was talking to my friend. Some 16-year-old kid walks up. Can I take this out of your way? He's talking about the trash. So you guys can enjoy your conversation? I don't even get that at a steakhouse sometimes. You want some refills on your drinks, guys? What? Does anybody know what Chick-fil-A says when you say thank you? Okay. My pleasure. Ripped straight out of Ritz-Carlton's playbook. If you go to Ritz-Carlton, that's what they say. They just ripped it out. There you go. This works. I'll give you the example of the power of that. My friend was having a birthday party for her 6-year-old daughter. At the end, everyone's walking up to her and saying, thank you for having us. Thank you for inviting us. And the mom kept saying, my pleasure, my pleasure, my pleasure. And her daughter says, Mommy, what do you think? You work at Chick-fil-A? Now, I want you to think of the power of that branding, right? And the power of that one thing, which is consistency. Because why people know that in this room, why that 6-year-old little girl was able to identify the phrase, my pleasure, with Chick-fil-A, consistency. That's why it's so important. If we don't have consistency, nothing exists. We don't have hospitality if we're not consistently giving hospitality. Across the board, everybody in this room has to give hospitality. That smile, that eye contact, engagement. I don't care what position you're in. If you're facing a guest at any point, we have to give them consistency, hospitality. So important. Oh, and they're closed on Sundays. So they're doing all those freaking numbers, and they're closed on Sundays. So if we think like everyone else, we're going to be like everyone else. And we have to think about something which is called infinite versus finite mindset. Does anybody know what infinite means? Shout it out. Forever. What does finite mean? Limited, right? We have a finite amount of energy every single day. You wake up, you can only do so much until you have to go back to sleep. So I want to talk to you about the Microsoft Zune. Has anybody heard of the Microsoft Zune? Raise your hand above your head. Okay, we got one person. Oh, okay, so we have one person that owns one. He doesn't even know what it is, but he owns one. I love it. So I don't know if you're old enough to remember, but Apple came out with the first iPod. And it was freaking amazing. It was game-changing, world-changing, revolutionary. You could fit 2,000 songs in your pocket. It was so well built, so easy to use, so cool. It had the dial. It was awesome, right? Nothing like it. And it changed the world. But not only that, it took Apple from this tiny competitor and made them an actual competitor with Microsoft for the first time. And Microsoft knew they had a problem. We got to freaking kill the iPod. We have to come out with the iPod killer. So they put a bunch of money and a bunch of resources into developing the iPod killer. And after a couple of iterations, they did it. They came out with the Microsoft Zune. Better memory, smaller, bigger screen, better battery. They did it. They made the iPod killer. So how come in this room of 300 people, only 3 people have heard of it and 1 person's owned one? Any guesses? Guess what came out 6 months later? The iPhone. It made music players obsolete. What Microsoft doing was being a competitor. What Apple was doing was being an innovator. I want you guys to be innovators, not competitors. Not chasing someone else's tail, but chasing excellence. That's the difference, both inside and outside of work. I want everyone in this room to start thinking that. When I'm coming into work every day, when I'm executing, is this an infinite mindset or a finite mindset? Is this an infinite decision or a finite decision? Yes, you're going to have to make finite decisions here and there, but you also should be tying them to infinite decisions. When I'm talking to the guest, when I'm interacting with the guest, when I'm walking past a guest, am I treating them in an infinite way to make sure they feel absolutely valued? So we have one mission here, and that's experience. And that's one really important thing to understand. We have one mission here. That's a guest experience. That's a member experience. That's making the member feel valued. Everybody in this room, right? We all are in different positions, different departments, correct? So we all have the same mission, though. The same exact mission. Just like Matt said, you might not be serving a member directly, but you're serving someone who's serving a member. Everybody's job is the member experience, giving the member the best experience possible, making them feel the most valued possible. How you execute that might change depending on your department and your position, but number one goal, member experience, no matter what. And I want to give you some tools to do that. So this is a training that we usually put together for any organization that we're working with. We have high-level leadership at the top, high-level systems, very important, training, follow-up, and accountability. I want to talk about something else before we get into that, standards. I want you guys to do me a favor and raise your hand if you have high standards for yourself, and raise your hand above your head like you mean it. Raise your hand above your head if you have high standards for yourself. So almost everyone in this room. So if you have high standards for yourself, there might be a case, there might be a chance that when I asked that question and you saw people raise their hands, that you looked around and you saw someone raising their hand and you might say, I don't know if you should be raising your hand. The difference of having high standards and not having high standards is if you have high standards and you hold them through adversity. That's the difference. You guys get a member walk up to you and hand you $1,000 at the beginning of your shift and say, I really appreciate you, take that with you. Then that shift, you're going to be holding your standards up super high. You're going to be in the best mood. You're going to be doing backflips. Your manager asks you to do something extra. You're going to say, yes, absolutely. What else? Right? Easy day. But it's the days you come in when you have a flat tire, when you get a parking ticket, when you get that bill you weren't expecting, when you get an argument with a significant other, when your coworkers are irritating you, when the members are being difficult, when your managers are being difficult. Those are the days that I would ask you, do you hold your high standards up? Or do you start negotiating with yourself, your ego and pride? It starts to negotiate with you, saying you can lower your standards. You have a reason to lower your standards. It's someone else's fault that you're lowering your standards, not yours. But it's really important to understand that if you raise your hand and said, I have high standards for myself, that you're in control of your standards. There's no one else in this room in control of your standards except for you. So if your standards are lowered, that's you lowering your standards, period, bottom line. If your standards are high, take credit for that too. You've held your standards. But that's the difference. If you have high standards, you hold them through adversity, no matter what. So I want to give you some more tools to use. And one thing I want to cover really quickly is that excellence is alignment. And again, we have to be aligned. We have to be giving the guest experience across the board. We have to give the member experience across the board. We have to be aligned with this attitude that if a member comes across any person that works, any person, they're going to get eye contact, they're going to get a smile, and they're going to get engagement. How are you today? How's everything going? Anything I can get for you? No matter what position you're at, back of the house, and you cross paths with the member, eye contact, smile. How are you? How's it going? Right? Not like zooming past them. And this is a big one. Hospitality is in everyone. So I hear this all the time. All the time. Hospitality, you either have it or you don't. It's either in you or it's not. I don't believe that. I think everybody is innately hospitable. And I want to use an example. But if you guys were to have someone that you were dating come over to your house for the first time and you were going to cook them dinner, what would you do? You'd clean the house. What else would you do? You would cook. Yes. What else? Someone says take a shower. I heard that. What else? Hey, they're right. I hope so. What else? Create a nice environment in the house. Yes. Would you light a candle? Maybe play some music? Maybe ask them what they like so you can cook them something you know they'll enjoy? Right? Anything. All of those things, right? Why are you doing all those things? Why are you going to go through the trouble of cleaning, of cooking something nice, of putting on music, of lighting a candle. Why are you doing all those things? You want to impress them. You want to wow them. You want to make them feel a certain way. No one's like, oh, I hope I invite them over for dinner for the first time and they leave going, oh, that's fine. No, you're like, oh man, I hope they leave and go, that was the best time ever. That's hospitality. That's what it is. That's hospitality. You're contributing to the experience saying, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure they go, that was the best experience ever. This is the best experience ever. This is the ongoing best experience ever.